Design is just one part of being a great designer. I joined the team at Shopify 7 years ago as a designer. And during my time here, I've had the opportunity to design and ship code in almost every product at Shopify. But I'm going to let you in a little secret. I never went to school for design. I never studied the principles of design, and I'm not an expert on color theory or typography. In fact, most of the things that have helped me in my career, they're not even related to design. So for today's talk, I'm going to let you in on what I've learned during my time here so you can continue to grow your practice and stand out from your competitors. To get started, let's go back to one of my first projects at Shopify. This was a kitchen store with a high number of products and variants. And I was tasked with designing and building this store for one of my clients. I put everything that I read about design into practice. Choosing the right colors, choosing the right typography, fixing the navigation, the hierarchy. I was so proud of this thing. But looking at it now, I look back on this project with a little bit of regret. Yeah, the overall design could have been better. Typography is not even that great. Photos are just stock photos. And I definitely should not have been using lorem ipsums. But most importantly, though, I failed to solve my client's problem. See, the goal of this project wasn't simply to make it look good. The goal was design an experience to help my client achieve more sales. Because what good is a beautifully designed store making 0 sales? I made the mistake of thinking that being a great designer meant I only needed to focus on the visual aspects of design. But there was so much more that I was missing. The projects that we build don't exist independently. And in order to understand the impact of our work, we need to understand the context of our work and the goal that we are driving. I've learned that no matter how great you are in your craft, you will always be limited unless you understand the world that your work exists in and why your work exists at all. So many of you here today design themes for merchants. So if we understand that the goal of designing themes is to enable more sales, then we need to understand who we are selling to and what we are selling. Lindsay's talk this morning gave you a deeper understanding of our merchants. But what about our merchants' customers, the people actually buying the products? I want you to ask yourselves, what does it mean to understand your audience? I mean, really understand them. Who are they today? Who do they aspire to be tomorrow? What are we really accomplishing here? So I want you to consider that designing for commerce enables people to be who they aspire to be. Let me explain. Let's look back at some examples from the past. In the late 1920s, cigarette companies realized that the majority of their customers were male because it was inappropriate for females to smoke at that time. That meant they were missing out on 50% of the consumer market. So how did they turn this around? On March 31st, 1929, in New York City during the Easter Day parade, a group of young, upper-class women marched along the parade in their fashionable skirts and fashionable hats, and it was a demonstration by the American Tobacco Association. It was like a modern-day flash mob. And rebelling against the norms and protesting for equality, they lit up their cigarettes as they marched along Fifth Avenue. They influenced cigarette sales by appealing to the desire of freedom and independence. And we see a similar example at the end of the Second World War. General Mills came up with the Betty Crocker cake mix, using powdered eggs and powdered milk. You just add water, super convenient and easy, pop it in the oven. But sales were dropping, and they couldn't figure out why. They finally realized that the act of cooking was an important symbol for housewives to affirm their contribution to the family. Cooking made them feel that they were giving back to their family. And the original product, while simple and convenient, it was actually too easy that they felt guilty using it. And so they took away the powdered eggs and added a new instruction to the recipe. You crack some fresh eggs in, and then you mix in everything else. And so the product was still simple, but allowed for a tiny sense of contribution. Sales went through the roof. See, consciously or unconsciously, humans every day make decisions about everything they own based on their identity or the identity they wish to portray. The things we own are extensions of our personalities. You don't just buy a computer for practicality. You buy a Mac because you want to be the cool guy in the jeans, not the stuffy PC guy in the suit. So this concept isn't new. But maybe we can apply the same principles when designing a store. Let's walk through an example. So here we have two tights, stretchy polyester leggings in a bright, fun pattern. They look pretty similar. But when we look at this product in the context of the store, we start to notice the little differences. The product title, product description, black milk has a witty, playful tone. Be Active wear is sporty, very serious. You even notice the product photography, high heels, sneakers. And who their customers are begin to change too. Grunge, punk, alternative, lots of mermaid rainbow hair. You even got active, like lifting weights, CrossFit, gyms. Very different. See, the context of your design decisions live in relation to the product photos, the copy throughout the site, order packaging, email templates, social media. Everything adds up. And as designers, we're constantly making decisions every day that influence our users' behaviors, their feelings, and actions. And all of these little things come together to help the customer determine, should I buy this? Is this me? Is this who I want to be? There's a bunch of articles out there talking about e-commerce best practices. You know, the ones that tell you to put the cart button on the right, logo on the left, search bar, breadcrumbs. And these are great. But design is so much more than just a checklist. There's this distinction between going through the motions of design and designing with purpose and intention. See, the visual layer of the store is just one part of a bigger picture. And design is just one part of being a great designer. When I first started at Shopify, I thought I had to learn everything there was to know about design. But design doesn't exist in a vacuum. And building product and business knowledge around our work is critical for us to make an impact. And I know that there's a lot of impact we can make here. And you thought you were just a web designer. I remember when I first started my career, I shipped a PR piece of code to master, and I broke one of the pages on our website. Thankfully, I was able to ship a fix within minutes, but I felt devastated that day. I went home that night, and a friend turned to me and said, "Hey, don't worry, it's just a website." And while I found comfort in that, I actually don't believe it's true anymore. We're building more than just pretty websites. We're building more than just pretty storefronts. Imagine a world where you were more than just a web designer. Imagine a world where you were more. A few weeks ago, I attended a self-development course. And at the very end of the course, the coach divided us into 2 groups. Each of the groups stood in rows, facing each other, less than an inch apart. So here I was, standing in my row, shoulders touching, and the group in front of me, less than an inch. And less than an inch is really close for people that don't actually know each other that well. And we didn't know anything about each other. I barely remember the name of my partner. So I stood there, I took a few deep breaths, and I could feel my heart pounding. I was so scared. I stared into the eyes of this woman in front of me who was about my height, short blonde hair, and I realized how silly it was to feel scared. This is what it feels like to truly see another person. See, under all of this, we're actually all the same. We all just want to be seen. We all want to be heard. And we all just want to belong somewhere. And that somewhere, that's what you create every day. Designing for commerce influences human desires. Designing for commerce empowers self-expression. Designing for commerce enables people to be who they want to be. And you thought you were just a web designer. Thank you.